Good evening, YouTube. Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. Quite the situation we're having unfold here. Really didn't pick up on this until about a night or two ago. But man, look at this. This is unbelievable. I haven't seen an ice storm this big in probably at least the last 5 years, if not longer than that. Like, to see this widespread swath of ice is just almost unheard of to me. But that's the situation we've had going on. It's exactly what we were concerned about in last night's video. Seems like that video is doing very well. I'm glad that people have been able to see it. I hope that you've been sharing it, hopefully it, I cannot speak, but hopefully that info is getting out to people that need it. Hopefully a lot of guys in the weather community, these videos are getting out to people that may need this info, because this somewhat snuck up on us. Like, it wasn't an impressive system that we were looking at here, but it's turned into a big deal. In fact, earlier when this was over towards central Texas, we actually got a report of thunder sleet. Thunder sleet, yeah. Who would have thought, right? But with that, a little extra warm air, bit of a warm air aloft mixed in with that cold, of course, convection is always a possibility. So it's not unheard of, but definitely a surprise to say the least. So here's what we have going on right now, obviously. Central Arkansas, over towards Little Rock, we are dealing with moderate to, I would even go as far as to call it heavy freezing rain, mixed precipitation right now. And this is going to be persisting throughout these areas throughout tonight, and then we will have another wave that comes in tomorrow. The unique thing about this system is it's going to be just continuously pulling moisture in, and it's going to be a very large moisture plume. And what's going to happen is it's going to mix with this cold air right here, but it's going to be almost like a glancing blowing away. And as a result, right towards that little area where that moisture is coming in, it's going to create a pocket of warm air aloft. And even though your surface temperature will very likely be slightly below freezing or just above, you're going to see this end up falling as either sleet or rain and then freeze on contact. And that's what makes this so dangerous, because this is likely, because of the heavy amount of moisture, going to accumulate much faster. But the fact that this will all freeze on contact makes it that much worse. So please, if you are in pretty much this swath that I'm about to show now, definitely try to stay inside if you can. Hopefully you've taken your precautionary actions ahead of time. All right, so here we are looking at our what's called our winter storm severity index. For these areas in the white, it's going to be minor to almost oblivious impacts. Nothing to really be concerned with. Once you start getting into the yellow, however, that's when we start getting minor to moderate impacts, especially as the colors start to get a little darker. Towards central Texas, we're starting to transition more towards an orange, which is moderate impacts. And over towards these areas, these are probably looking at moderate impacts because of the ongoing snow or freezing rain that's going over here. I'm not quite sure how to get that off of there. I'm still somewhat new to Radar Omega. I'm getting better at using it, and hopefully that will be mastered by the time I start doing live streaming at some point. I don't know when that will be exactly. Hopefully within the next couple of months I could maybe do a live stream for a severe event or winter event or two, possibly. A lot of factors could play into that. But that being said, we also have to keep note of this area right here. And I'm going to try to clear this up real quick, maybe so you can get a better view of it. Okay, so doing some little techie stuff while I've been trying to figure out how to clear things off on here. So I actually did figure out it was a little easier than I thought. But anyway, this area right here that we have shaded right here, this is a probability zone for areas that could see up to a 1/4 inch of ice. What we discussed in last night's video is that these areas that could be seeing that 1/4 inch ice could not only be dealing with deteriorating road conditions, but also the potential for loss of power. When you get to that 1/4 inch of ice range, what ends up happening is across those power lines, it has the equivalent of weighing up to about 500 pounds, which will make those power lines droop. And in other words, power goes bye-bye, pretty much. But that being said, This area right here in the yellow, this is a slight risk of accumulations above a quarter-inch of ice. And then right here where our heaviest frozen precipitation is falling, we have a moderate risk. And this is just to the east of Little Rock here. We're going to zoom in a little bit closer. Memphis, you are in this, by the way, so definitely make sure that you are staying inside. Make sure you have your generator ready. Make sure you've limited your water supply, if not cut it off fully here. This is where some of the heaviest frozen precipitation is mixed precipitation is falling right now. So we need to be extremely careful. Excuse me. But that's what we have going on here. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going to be ahead for these regions here, because this is, like I said, this is going to be a multi-day event. So one thing to note here as well is we have an ongoing mesoscale discussion for that area we were just talking about in areas a little further to the north for periods of moderate to maybe even locally mixed precip continuing around the next few hours. Highest confidence is right across this corridor right here between the boot part of Missouri, northeastern Arkansas, and getting into parts of Kentucky as well. Western Kentucky, we're having to watch you as well. You guys are in that highest confidence of moderate to heavy freezing rain and sleet. The setup is basically just goes as follows. Here's that thickness line where we get to that 540 range, which is about our freezing point. And then we have that low-level temp advection max, which is basically going to be temperatures that are slightly above freezing in the higher levels of the atmosphere. So when we combine those two together, this is going to end up being our battle zone. So that being said, of course, with us looking at radar Omega, we have a pretty good idea of what to expect here. Moderate to high confidence of at least a tenth of an inch across pretty much this entire corridor. There's a couple of areas where we're nearing almost 100% probability of that. When we get to about a quarter inch, we're starting to increase our confidence on that too, which is very alarming. So tonight we're watching this region over towards Memphis. By tomorrow we're going to be looking more so towards that region. And then we'll start seeing that second wave come in for central Texas. And this will only intensify over that region throughout the next couple of days. I really don't think we will start to see a break in the action until potentially Friday, when the storm system might be moving off finally. So with that being said, let's actually go ahead and take a look at the temperatures at both the surface and the upper levels, get an idea of what exactly we will be dealing with here, because we're already seeing it and this looks like it's set to continue. Like I said earlier as well, a lot of these areas here are seeing temperatures slightly below freezing at the surface. This is 2 meters above the ground. Look over towards Texas, for example. We're seeing temperatures near the teens, upper 20s. So you're thinking, okay, this is going to end up being snow. And we'll go ahead and move this along for the next few days. The temperatures remain that way over that region. So you're thinking, okay, snow. This isn't going to be a big thing, is it? Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work that way. So we're going to go to the altitude where we have the low-level jet. We usually talk about the low-level jet in severe weather situations. It's a few thousand feet above our heads. And usually these are winds that end up causing a lot of severe weather. But in this case, we're looking at temperature more so than wind. So here's what we need to note here. Right here, where we see this little blue line, almost you would say a contour, is right where our freezing line is at this level of the atmosphere. And what's happened over here is we have an area towards the lower levels of the atmosphere where we're above freezing. So that snow that's falling from the higher levels of the atmosphere is running to this section of warm air here, and it's actually melting. But by the time it gets back to the surface where it's below freezing, it's going to freeze either on the way to the ground or on contact, which is why we're getting that sleet. And as we move this along, keep an eye on this line right here that we're seeing. This is pretty much going to be where our rain snow line is going to set up here. And this is going to be a battle zone. Notice how it just does not move. That's how this whole setup has began, and it's going to pretty much persist. We're dealing with that warm layer aloft all throughout the week. So this is going to end up being a pretty significant winter storm here. So as time goes on, we'll be watching for increased totals throughout, I'd say, most of Thursday and maybe even into a small portion of Friday morning. The worst, I think, will definitely be tomorrow and Wednesday for sure, without a question. So, like I said, I hope that you have taken the time to prepare ahead of time. At this point, it's pretty much too late. Just work with what you have. Just watch. You can watch my channel or watch really any YouTuber's channel that covers weather here, and we'll try to get you through it the best we can. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look at what our precipitation will look like over the next few days. So here's where our rain snow line is that I've been talking about here. This is where our heaviest freezing rain and sleet is going to be falling throughout the night. But watch what happens as we start to look back towards Texas come tomorrow. Picks up right where it left off by tomorrow morning. This plume of moisture is coming in from the southwestern or the southeastern Pacific and from the Baja. Travels right through, heads over the same areas over and over again. It's almost like watching thunderstorms do what's called training. That's exactly what we're seeing here with this ice setup. And it's just multiple waves, and we just keep getting them over and over again. And that's what's going to be what's really dangerous about this. This ice isn't getting any chance to melt, and at the same time, we're getting increased totals as a result of, simply put, just more ice falling over the same areas, just like with a flooding event. So this is really dangerous. Just make sure that whatever supplies you did gather for yourself, that you use them wisely, because this looks like it could be a long duration event. So that being said, let's go ahead and finally take a look at our ice totals here. It's not really much to look at for snow, so this isn't going to be a big issue. So here we go, looking at the ice totals. I'm going to do a little quick switch over here. Here's our model comparison, and the Euro is probably the most extreme of the three. What I can see here is we're getting close to an inch over here towards central Texas. Honestly, with the way things have been, before I was thinking this was kind of bullish. I'm a little worried about this now. I'm not going to lie. I'm slightly worried that this could end up coming to fruition. So hopefully this doesn't. But if this does end up happening, this is going to be a very crippling ice storm. This will be one for the record books. It already seems like it's shaping out to be that way. Of course, similar situation over towards Arkansas. Maybe not as significant of totals, but pretty daggone close. We're seeing over a half an inch of ice, which is crippling still in its own right. You don't need up to an inch. Really, a quarter inch is bad enough. When you get towards 3/4 of an inch, that's getting pretty wild right there. We start to look towards the Canadian, and it's showing an actually more aggressive scenario. So there's increased confidence that over towards this corridor between Midland and Dallas, we could have extreme ice possible over in this region. I don't know if I agree with this spot right here. I think it'll be a little bit further to the north, but we'll see what happens with that. And then, of course, the last thing to look at will be the blend of models. So the National Weather Service blend of models, I know I've probably gone over it a few times with this channel. Usually we'll have the best outcome as far as totals are concerned. It'll be the most accurate due to the fact that it compiles all the other models together and basically comes up with a median. But even so, we're still seeing well over a quarter inch of ice possible to fall still. I'm still not entirely sure on what the totals are over here in this region already, but a half inch ice doesn't seem out of the question from this in overall totals here. The same can be said for this region right here, especially if we have another day where we have a band of freezing rain and sleet pop up over here. So, very dangerous ice storm ongoing, and this looks like this setup will be persisting throughout the week. I hope that you guys have made preparations again. I'm hoping that you guys have ways to stay warm. Please definitely take precautions if you're having to head out. Really, I would just say don't do it at all, unless it's just a nightmare situation where you have to get somebody out of there, like pronto. Other than that, I mean, just don't do it. It's not worth it. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, of course, drop a like or do the double click where you like and subscribe. Also, of course, by this point, hopefully everybody knows, but in case they didn't and you know somebody over here that may have been lacking on their last minute plans and there's still a window for them available, albeit I still doubt it, definitely share this video to them. Tell them to get prepared now, especially over towards Kentucky, because I think there's still maybe a short window for you guys to maybe prepare towards central Kentucky, because even towards eastern Kentucky we could have some problems here. But anyways, this has been Tyler Metalhead Weatherman. I will probably have an update video, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.